So welcome, Quinn. Welcome
What's
to Bar
good?
Talk Podcast. How
Thanks
are
for
you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh my
Thanks for
God.
having me
Yeah,
on
so
the
listen,
show.
I'm super excited about you coming to chat with us. We are live on Facebook tonight. So I'm going to likely, just because I know there'll be a few people coming into the room, maybe asking a few questions. I already have some questions for you. Many
Mhm.
people want to talk to you about narcissism, about recovery. I mean, as I've always talked to my group members, I always tell them that you're like the guru as it relates to understanding narcissism and kind of unpacking it and understanding narcissistic personality disorder and
Mhm.
many other disorders. So thank you for coming to the show tonight to chat with us.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I appreciate it.
So, I love talking about recovery. As I've shared with you before, I was also a victim of narcissistic personality abuse, and I was in this relationship for several years, and I had to fight through it and recover and get back to living my best life. And I have some amazing friends and associates that I've kind of helped and encouraged and coached them out of some of those types of relationships. But it sometimes is better when I am able to give them tools such as the ones that you offer on your network. So tonight, I want you to share with the group or even just share with us your take on just dealing with a person with MPD. That's what we're going to call it tonight, ladies and gentlemen, MPD. So I would like for you to just kind of just open up a little bit about the knowledge that you have, and anything that you can share with those that are listening.
Well, narcissistic personality disorder. My experience came from, direct contact with uh, uh, a woman that I was dealing with that was a narcissist, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't just jump to that conclusion like saying, "Oh, she's a narcissist," from years of studying and researching,
Yeah.
and I did I didn't put out information about that. You have to me, you have to know or live with somebody
Mm-hmm.
and know them in a more intimate setting than to just be able to blurt out or prejudge that someone's a narcissist. I
Okay.
see a lot of people with the Will and Jada situation. And I don't know them.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
only assume. We can say, oh, certain things may look like it, but I don't know her. Somebody
Right.
could have a sexual addiction or something. That don't
Right.
mean they're a narcissist.
Right.
So I don't know what go on in that household specifically. So I can't, offer up any, judgments on it. But I went through it myself, and I learned the signs, the things to look for, people getting to a point where you start to feel depressed. I mean, that was a big thing where you start to feel that depression.
Mm-hmm.
You start to feel locked in. You start to feel like you're chasing the person because that's essentially what happens.
Mm-hmm.
If you running, you chasing, you're gonna be gasping for air. You're gonna run out of
Right.
breath. Because you're
Yeah.
constantly trying to make sure everything right and you ain't getting in the, you walking on eggshells. So that's
Mm-hmm.
stressful. So you start
Mm-hmm.
getting stressed, high blood pressure, all
Mm-hmm.
these other things that start to affect you, health wise.
Right.
And I mean, basically, once I got the information, the first thing I got was on borderline personality disorders.
Okay.
That's what
Wow.
I initially started studying.
Yeah,
And
me
a lot of
too.
a lot of things started relating and adding up, but the missing components, because I was with the situation with the individual, they were competitive,
Mm-hmm.
always trying to compete with me,
Mm-hmm.
always trying to, they wanted attention. They wanted, it was like, wait a minute, we're supposed to be on the same team. And I just thought that was odd. I thought that was out of place. So
Right.
I came across some other things on online and, books. I was going to the bookstore, came across a narcissistic personality disorder. And I was like, that's the one. That's the one that
Yeah.
was hidden.
Yeah.
And so from there, I just did more research.
Mm-hmm.
I started my own YouTube channel, and
Mm-hmm.
I think I was the first black person, first black person as a brother too.
I think
To
you were.
ever, to
Yeah.
ever come out there like that, just hit them with it, with the whole style with it and
Yes.
everything. So, and I pioneered the way and got it to where now a lot of males are able to speak about it. More women are coming out and speaking their truth.
Yeah.
And so, that was my healing.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
Yeah.
when I started to speak about it and get it off my chest, a lot of the stuff that I was dealing with in and out, that was my healing. That's how I got to that point.
Yeah. So whenever you discovered that your ex narc was not actually only BPD, right? Only borderline personality disorder, um, and you realized it was narcissism, like, did you ever have a moment where you thought like, okay, now that I know what it is, I can handle it, I can manage it? Or did you just say, I got to run for the hills? How did you respond to that?
It was like, the cognitive dissonance, which a lot of people talk about, is the first thing that hit.
Yeah.
And that's where you're faced with some reality, some facts,
Mm-hmm.
but they're conflicting with what you see from that person. Like, you're like, nah, but, they say they love you. They say they want to be around. They say they want to work on themselves and make things right. Then this can't be what it is.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, so you're confused. So you're going back and forth. It's not until I realized, like, wait a minute, they keep doing the same thing that they say they don't want to do, that they say they want to fix, that they say they want to make right. They keep doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
At that point, it was like, that's when I was like, you know what? I got to get up out of there. I was like, this ain't going to change. And, they're playing a game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a game.
Yeah.
And so it was that point. Even with the cognitive dissonance, I had to sit myself down and was like, you know what? If this wasn't true, if it was just in your head, the person would be making progression. They would be making
Absolutely.
progress.
Yeah.
There was no progress. So by me not seeing any progress was my cue to get up out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is an adult, like this is in your adult relationship. This is not like a child. So I want those that are listening, like this is not like kid relationships, because I know like in high school and junior high, we may have those really, really immature relationships, people that have truly not developed. But with those that are narcissistic, they're adults and still haven't developed, right? I mean, help me understand that a little bit.
Well, it's really the term, there used to be only one umbrella of that mainly people thought of with the cluster B, and that was the, being psychotic. And really all of them are under that,
Right. Or psychopaths, right?
Psychopath,
Sociopaths. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sociopath, psychopath, histrionic, borderline, narcissist, all of those.
Mm-hmm.
But, for when you think about it and you understand that narcissism is a form of arrested development.
Mm-hmm.
It's really what it is.
Yeah.
The person stops developing emotionally. So the emotional intelligence, at least, gets stunted. And typically what I've seen, to me, and this is my opinion, all of the behaviors is like a juvenile delinquent.
Yes.
It's like a junior high school kid.
Yeah.
That's 13, because you remember back in junior high when how the kids would act and do stuff with attention.
Absolutely.
That's what it was like for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was like for me. And
yeah.
I look at it as a form of somebody being stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody being stuck and not being able to move out of a certain range.
Okay.
And so that's what I look at. Narcissists is, they're stuck.
Yeah.
They can't move on.
Right.
They're locked into a certain stage where they can't emotionally, through emotional intelligence, move on. And I do believe there's some logical things, with being with their mental cognition, or the way that they're how they think and process thoughts. That isn't all the way on point too.
Right. Yeah.
They do things which has no rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, oh, how did you come up with that? What made you say that? What made you think that? What made you think that was possible?
Right.
But yet they can figure it in their mind, and it's totally workable.
Yeah.
But to the average sane person, they would think it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
And
Yeah.
it can confuse you, like, because you're thinking like rationally, right? You're thinking realistically, you're thinking rationally,
Mhm.
but the way they're thinking and carrying on and behaving, in my experience, is it was just so far left. And I would be so confused, as like you said, like how we got here, you know? And I remember myself looking at my ex and I was thinking, yeah, like a 9-year-old, like you're throwing tantrums, and it was the weirdest situation. And I kind of realized that there's something wrong.
And and that's where I see it too. I mean, because but I look at it and I understand like that 9-year-old type people say 2-year-olds, but they're still more controllable. You can control them.
True.
Most
Yeah.
people lose control and start to get the challenging and resistance from teenagers.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
When they reach that little, when they, puberty level,
Yeah.
that's when you start having all them issues.
Yes.
To me,
Yeah.
that's where a lot of narcissists are stuck
Hmm.
right there.
I can
They're
see
stuck right there.
that. I can see that. So can you share with us, like, because like I said, my group is all about healing and it's all about recovering. And I do have many people that are in the group that are currently um, trying to find their way out of this relationship. Some don't even know how to title it. I have helped them with some clinical terminology, some experiences, explaining, certain like feelings of emotion that you may have, because I realize that in many of these relationships, the victim tends to respond the same way. Like, it's like we've all dated the same person. And so when I talk to anyone, they're always, they'll share what they've done and how they felt and all these things. And I'm like, oh yeah, I went through that too. We all respond the same
Hmm.
way, you know? So like, for instance, with you, when you decided, once you realized what you were dealing with, you knew you had to go, you made up in your mind, like your healing process for one, and two, did you have a circle? Like, did you have any confidants? Did you have anyone you could just go to and talk to and confide in? How did you handle that?
Well, for me, the biggest thing, for healing, when I really boiled everything down and got to the nitty gritty of it,
Mhm.
the thing that they hurt us on, they hurt our egos,
Oh,
because what you brought to the table and what
yeah.
your value is, but
Hmm.
they're steadily trying to discredit everything that makes you you, that
Yeah.
makes you the person that you are, right?
Yeah.
So this stuff that they try to crush your ego. And I believe it's that point where people have a hard time of coming back from is, am I really, how come it didn't work? How come the wonderful person that I am didn't work for this person?
Hmm.
Well, that's because it did. That's why they were with you.
Yeah.
Thing is, you were still an individual. You still had a sense of your own autonomy to do what you want to do, and you still have the ability to walk away from something that you didn't like,
Hmm.
which is where it comes in a conflict with them.
Yeah.
Because if you're not willing to stay and put up with everything that they're dishing out, and you have more value than
Hmm.
them, then essentially, if you do leave them behind, it's saying that they're less than you.
Wow.
So they have to take your ego away to
Mm.
feel as though you were never nothing to them either. So you're still equal. You didn't prove anything
Right.
by getting rid of me. You didn't prove nothing because you're nobody either.
Right.
So it was that thing of me realizing that, I had to heal and understand what, just recognize what your value is.
Yeah. Value
Not,
is such a big thing. Yeah. Because you're right. They
mhm.
they devalue you. And I think the experiences play with your mind and your self-esteem as well. Because I think that sometimes you deserve better, you should leave, but then you wake up and find yourself still there beside them.
Well, you gotta understand, Queenie. The thing about it is, look at the devaluation stage. That's a whole stage that they
Yeah.
have named that they do.
Yeah.
They devalue you.
Yeah.
They invalidate and strip you of
Yeah.
all of the quality. And they, and I said this before, narcissists don't. they attack your virtues.
Mm.
They don't go after other stuff, you know, they attack the virtues of that person.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you attack the virtues of a person, you're basically saying everything you worked hard for to do in life and everything you try to do to build yourself up in life is
Mm-hmm.
nothing.
Wow.
That means nothing. And that's the most sinister, destructive thing that somebody can do, is to deny the truth of what really is, and while robbing you of all the benefits
Mm-hmm.
that you present from being that dynamic, wonderful person, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so once I seen that and got that part of the game, I left, and I didn't have people. I was just on my own.
Oh,
I
goodness.
tell a lot of people don't know. When I left, I made it in my mind to say, you know what? I don't care what it is. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I didn't care if I was homeless.
Yeah.
In fact, when I first started doing my videos, I was in my car.
Really? Oh
I was
my
sitting in my
God.
car. Yeah.
Oh my
And then
God.
I had a gym membership. I go shower there, and I lived that way because I wanted to be able to start from. I started all the way from dirt up, from the dirt.
Right.
I tell people this. It was so important to me to be out of that
Mm-hmm.
and to redeem myself. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
I can always get back up where I came from.
Right. Right.
But if you go so far in losing yourself, sometimes you may not ever get that part of yourself back.
Mm-hmm.
So it was worth more to me to get up out of there and start from scratch. And I did. And then I ended up getting an apartment. I ended up building up
Mm-hmm.
again.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up getting my own. I got a doctor reached out to me. It was like, this lady wants you to play a role in her movie, and I played a doctor. It was called Rise from the Ashes by
Nice.
Gracie Phoenix. Yeah, so I did that. I played her doc, and I got the script like a day before because they
Wow.
was looking for somebody who's gonna get somebody else, but ended up putting me in. I got the script a day before,
Yeah.
and from there, I liked it, and I ended up, networking with some people and get
Mhm.
my own film crew. Then I produced my own
I
documentary.
remember that. I remember the first
Yeah,
documentaries you produced.
yeah. Then
Yes.
I did a follow up, and then
Yeah.
we produced a pilot for a comedy pilot on
Look
Netflix, and
at
had comedians
you.
standing up. So I went from
Yes.
being homeless, to actually own company, have people working for me the whole nine.
That
You
is
know what I'm saying?
amazing.
Own office, the whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
And look, this is your come up from after being in such a damaging relationship, right?
exactly, and
This
that's
is
why I
your come
tell
up.
people.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people, you have to. You have to have it, because most people think, oh, I didn't put so much into this. If I let go now, I'm losing all of this, and that's another part, the unknown
Yeah.
of
It's
where you're gonna
scary.
be. Where are you gonna be after they're out of your life?
Mm-hmm.
How are you gonna be, and what are you gonna be doing?
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to face that.
Right. Right.
So a lot of people will, they'll stay.
Mm-hmm.
They'll choose the alternative and stay there and prolong the inevitable,
Yeah.
because it's gonna end.
Right.
It's gonna end, period. And so people don't want to. Another thing, they don't want to feel the pain that comes with the separation, and then having to heal.
Yeah.
You're gonna go through some pain. There's gonna be some
Oh,
pain.
goodness.
You
Listen,
know
you
what
have to
I'm saying?
tell, listen, Quinn, I went through it. I mean, I went through it. So I feel everything you're saying. Yes, you're gonna go through some pain. And I tell, I tell those that I know that are going through this and are enduring it. It's not gonna feel good. But I promise you, when you finally are far enough away from it, it will all be worth it. Like when you get far enough away from that situation, you'll look back and be like, yeah, this was worth
Yeah,
it.
definitely. I mean, that's why a lot of people, they'll 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 put off this toxic, um you know relation. No, I say transaction, but for
Yeah.
people, for your audience, relationship,
Right.
because really all it is a transaction.
Right.
they'll put off getting rid of it for the sake of not feeling like they lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and having to deal with that pain of starting all over again
Mm-hmm.
and feeling used and feeling, all these other bad, negative things that sends people into a state of depression. So you go through the depression and you go through all of these things. You have the constant thoughts about, what went on and what happened. And really, it's more or less like you got to find a way to just say, man, it's got to be better.
Yeah.
It's got to be better. And that's how I got up out of it. I didn't have a support group. My support was actually what kept me going was people that was listening to me. People that came on was listening to my story. That kept me going.
Yeah.
That became my support group and way of healing and getting past.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, with that, since that became your support group, if you don't mind me asking a very personal question, did you go to counseling or therapy, or was this part of your counseling?
No, I didn't have. I was fortunate enough after a while, when I did my e-course and, I was fortunate enough to get doctors who were doctors of neuroscience and psychology that I could talk to on a one-on-one, like just call them up, we talk and shoot the breeze.
Yeah, they were learning from you though.
Yeah,
they were learning from you.
But we, to speak with people, because I had such a grasp of it after a while. I didn't even know the type of grasp I had on it till I was speaking with these doctors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they were asking me questions, and I'm like, "But wait a minute, y'all are the doctors, though." So it made me sit down and be like, "Dang, I really absorbed and soaked up more than I thought I did out of this experience."
Yeah.
And I learned more than I thought I actually had learned.
Yeah.
And that was just like mind blowing.
Yeah.
That's the Narcissist. She might be on this podcast tonight. She might be on the podcast tonight.
Because they'd be lurking, right? They'd be lurking. You call it. You said they'd be out here narking.
She has reached out, as of last year, November.
Yeah.
Before that, she wanted a consultation, a one-on-one. This is 5 years now, 5 years removed.
Wow.
She wanted a one-on-one consultation on advice to help a narcissist because she's really realizing that she's a narcissist.
Now, we all know that that's not really what happened.
Yeah, no, it's not. They want to know if you still care, because deep down inside, every narcissist believes that they're thinking back in their mind on how you were in love with them, how you wanted to be with them, and what you did for them. They think you're still that person.
Yeah.
They don't realize how you evolved as a person.
Yeah.
They don't understand that. They think you're still stuck and waiting for them.
Yeah.
No. And so I got the request through email, and I sent the bill. I sent the invoice to her.
I love it.
You know what I'm saying? I sent the invoice. Like, you're nobody. You're the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
They still asked their question, and I ignored them.
Wow.
And so, and then they waited like 5 months after that and asked, another question. I still ignored them. And then, it's just, they never stop.
Yeah. Well, is that now, would you call that, what cycle would you call it? Would you call it a hoovering?
That's revitalization.
Okay. I just want to make sure those that are listening know what that.
After a while of going through other bad situations that failed with other people
that they create,
they begin to re-idolize you again.
Yeah, you weren't that bad.
Idolizing that grade A supply again.
Absolutely.
And you want to know, what I'm saying? They remember this, they remember that, and now you're fantastic again.
Of course.
You're wonderful. You know what I'm saying? You have all these qualities that they just didn't see when they were with you, but now they see it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? No. I was done. I had to cut it off, and I found a big way. Queenie was I'm big into comedy. Like I said, I produced the whole stand-up comedy thing. That helped me too to make laughter out of some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And people who follow me know I make laughter out of a lot of this stuff that, you know, that goes on. And comedy, laughter heals. So I found a way to make a sad, destructive, traumatic situation into something, you know, something that had, you know, some laughter in it,
Yeah.
something that
Well,
you can heal from.
I mean, I love that, and good for you for finding your way back to self. You know, probably, and I would say an even better self, but definitely finding your way back to self. For me, I ask because I mean, some people, you know, they don't go to therapy while they're in the relationship because some are just afraid. You know, sometimes a narc can become so abusive either mentally and or physically, and the victim is just afraid to make any moves because of course they think if they do something, the narc sees it. And I'm not saying that they don't, because sometimes they do, but sometimes the narc only uses that just as a fear tactic to keep you under control. And so coming on to maybe YouTube or Facebook or some of these groups in private is the only therapy that they have, because they can't go back to their friends because they're kind of estranged from their friends and their family. And that's kind of just what happens when you're in a relationship with especially NPD or even BPD, personality disorder people or
And I
borderline
think
personality.
there's one, you know, differentiating factor in regards to male, female narcs and the
Mhm.
abuse. What I would say, there's more a risk of the aggression and the persistence with male narcs to
Right.
female victims. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where, you know, females, even though they can get physical, the female narc can get physical.
Mhm.
It's more of the psychological play.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's more of the passive aggression and
Mhm.
the psychological play that they use,
Mhm.
where the threat, the male narc uses the intimidation and
Yeah.
all that to scare and keep their victims
Mhm.
held in line, at least.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so with that being said, like the majority of my group are female. I mean, I do have a couple males in there, and I love to speak with them as much as I can, but the females, many are not able to necessarily get therapy or counseling. So this is the place. And even for me, in my circle, I had amazing therapists, and much like you, my therapist friend told me that, she was like, yeah, I think that person is BPD. And I'm like, what? And I had to do some,
Had more of the scoop on it than,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I had to do some research like borderline, and I kept looking, but there were some pieces that were missing that didn't connect for me. And so I just went back to my study when I was in sociology and I was studying psychology, and I started researching narcissism, and I'm like, this is it, like this is it. And as I share with you, the same person told me about BPD. She also said, Queenie, I think you're codependent. And for as offended as I was, it just woke me up. It made sense that this codependent, strong sister is dancing with a narcissist. This is not a tango that I'm ever going to be able to master. I had to go. I had to go. And
Absolutely.
you too became part of my therapy circle, because I found you speaking my truth. Like it was like you were speaking to the actual cycles I was in. And then of course you spoke to the cycles I had already came through. And I was just like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I went through. That's exactly what I felt. That's it, and so
Mhm.
I had to thank you. I thanked you when you came to Alexandria. I think it was last
I'm
year.
honored.
Were you here last year? It was last year, right?
I did come twice.
Yeah. So when I saw you last year, because 2020 is a total wash, right?
Right.
Yeah. So when I saw you in 2019, I thanked you because you were part of that saving grace for me, that circle that that he could not take away. You know what I mean? And so I had followed you for some time, but it was at the very end of that relationship when I was leaving that I was just so grateful to have found you. So I know even tonight, just hearing you, and I've shared videos in my room, and I know that people are going to be like, wow, like, first of all, he's real. Yes, he's real, everyone.
Hmm.
And secondly, you do make perfect sense out of this experience. And so I thank you for that. But
Absolutely.
I do have another question because some
Mm-hmm.
people left a few questions for me. But I want to know, like, after you as a male went through your experience and you started coming back out and started becoming more stronger and building your life back, and stepped away, and you were very clear, I'm never going back into that relationship again. How did you remain positive? Like, how did you not get like that resurgent ego and lash out at all women and accuse every woman of being horrible? How did you? I've never seen you do that, so I want to know, how do you not do that?
Well, I keep everything in keen perspective, where
Yeah.
I know that I'm very careful with how I process my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So even though I went through something with her, and I never made even my channel about her, I never
Right.
made any specific things attacking, because I knew I had to be real with myself and say, you know what, that was something I should have never been in. I had enough flags.
Wow.
This individual kind of told me in so many ways that they were screwed up, and I went anyway. So to answer that the short way was accountability, personal
Accountability.
accountability.
Wow. Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and so once you're accountable for that, your own, you getting yourself involved, me getting myself involved in that, at least,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to say, you know what, there is a difference. Every women are say, oh, women are emotional, or they're emotional. Not all. There's a
Okay.
very logical women out there that more logical than a lot of guys think. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it just depends on the individual. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how you got to approach things. I approach everyone as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even get caught up too much into the, a lot of people I hear try to tell me about astrology. And, I go by the individual, because you
Right.
can have people the same astrological signs, but they're totally different.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go by what that individual is. What do they value? What do they respect? What's the what motivates them? What drives them? And how much does that line up with what you
Right.
respect and are motivated by? And that's how I learned how to maneuver with it. And there's certain things that I shouldn't be dealing with, and I won't now, knowing that I'm going to get the same results,
Mm-hmm.
to where I move differently now. And
That's
so,
wisdom.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't I don't generalize. I try to make it a point not to generalize. And that's one of the biggest things there.
Yeah, that's really good, Quinn. That's wisdom. I think that, I think sometimes we leave those relationships so angry, and so, just we're mad at ourselves, we're mad at the world, we're blaming the perpetrator, and, we feel so victimized that it's difficult for us to have our own, or hold our own self
Well,
accountable.
you have to look at the background.
Yeah.
Every woman has a different background.
Mm-hmm.
And some come from those type of backgrounds that are just toxic,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't they're not benefiting, not even to themselves,
Right.
you know. And when you understand that, and you're around them individuals, and you realize, like, anything that moves like that individual is going to have these problems. So I look for patterns in a
Yeah.
person.
Mm-hmm.
Not I don't go off, I don't judge anything. I'm judging by the patterns that they continue to get into, and how they're living.
Yeah.
That's what I judge. That's what I
Right.
judge by.
Yeah. I like that. I like
Because
that.
patterns tell you everything. Whether you can
They do.
see, but if you follow a pattern, it's gonna more than likely lead you to what the end result's gonna be.
Yeah, yeah. You're correct on that. I totally agree. I remember in my relationship, I looked back at his life and I was like, no, this has always been this way. you
Mm-hmm.
know, because he would say
Don't
things like, I never dealt with this till I got with you. I never did. And I'm like, no, that's not true. So I did a little bit of investigating. No, you've been.
Queenie, it takes time to, like, I've made a lot of mistakes myself in life.
Yeah.
But I had to constantly keep going back and looking over that and saying, what can I do to never have that happen again?
Wow.
And I adjust myself at that point. Once I realize what the mistake was, what can I do to never have that happen again?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I deal with it from that point. And most people don't deal with it because, like you said, they're enmeshed in anger and bitterness, and you know, they're jaded, and so they carry that with them without realizing that, like, nobody forces us to really do anything.
Right. That's right.
You know
Oh
what
my
I'm saying?
God. Yes. And
You
you
know,
know, you are so correct. Like,
taxes. You know, I'm forced to get them taxes in, but you know, but other than that, you have a choice,
yeah,
especially when dealing with people.
yeah, yeah.
You still, you're not powerless.
Right.
It's that we have certain expectations that cloud our judgment. And
Yeah.
when we allow our expectations to run before our judgment, that's like driving without your headlights on and trying to guess where you're going. You know what I mean? So we have to pull our expectations back in and realize, like, you know, this may not be what we think it is. It may not be gonna be this wonderful thing.
Yeah.
And let me hold off on this. Let me look at it from another angle. Let me choose another option, you know, something like that. But people's expectations end up getting too far ahead of them, and it
Right.
gets out of control.
Right. Oh my goodness, Quinn. You know, I can listen to you talk all night. I tell you, especially about.
I'm here for the people, man.
I know. I love it. And I know that they're getting something out of this. So I'm going to go straight to these questions because I know we don't have but so much more time on here. So give me like 1 second. Let's see. Okay. So my first question for you is, why do we feel so guilty when we finally break free and leave?
I think the guilt is because, you know, we were sold a person who was in need, who
Mm,
wanted to do better, who wanted to do not just better, but to be better with you.
yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
powerful thing right there. They want to do better with you.
Yes.
And so if I'm trying to do better with you, all you have to do is help me get there, right? And you try and try and try, and then most of us, when we don't have when we have a winner's attitude, when we don't quit on things, and we gotta quit, we gotta let go, right?
Yeah.
Then it feels like, man, damn, I didn't make this work. I wasn't able to pull this off. So now you feel guilty, and now you feel like you failed yourself, you failed them, you didn't do something right.
Yeah.
But really, it was never, it was a losing situation from start. You
Yeah.
weren't gonna win anyway.
Yeah.
It was already set up for you to lose. And it's not until you realize, and you didn't click in you, but you realize that I'm in a game that's not meant for me to win.
Mm, 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 mm.
And that's when you leave. But you don't have the understanding of it yet. But
Yeah.
later that dawns on you. So that's why the pain is going through until you realize I was never going to win in that situation anyway. Or you start seeing things outside of you once they done went to another source that repeated the same cycle. Now they're doing the same thing that they were doing with you with a new source. Then it hits you like, wow, I really was in a toxic situation with something that I was never going to be successful in.
Yeah. They're always moving the finish line. So you're never gonna get there anyway.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're never gonna get there anyway. You know, in the beginning of this recording, I shared that there may be conversation had or shared that's triggering, right? Because some people, you know, we don't know our triggers until we're faced with them. So something you just said was like a trigger for me, right? Because my ex used to say, and this is, you know, this is years ago, but he used to say, when we first started dating, he said, do you want to win or do you want to he said, do you just want to win or do you want to go to the Super Bowl? Now, mind you, I'm a huge football fan and I'm a Cowboys fan, right?
What? Out there in DC?
Yes, yes, yes,
Blasphemy.
yes. I know it's terrible, but there's a whole bunch of us out here.
Mhm.
But he would say things like, do you just want to win like the game or do you want me to take you to the Super Bowl? And I'll be like, I got a winner's attitude. I'm going to the Super Bowl. I never made it. never got my ring, never made it to the Super Bowl. It never happened.
Right, right.
I woke up. I
Right.
woke up. It was all. He was playing with words. He was, he
Future
had.
faking. Future
Yeah,
faking.
future faking. Yes, that's exactly what was going on. He was future faking. Now we did get engaged, but it was still future faking. It was never ever going to happen quite like he was presenting it to me, because he knew
Those are called, those are anchors when they do stuff
yeah,
like get in
absolutely.
the ring.
Yeah.
This it's just to keep you planted so
Yeah.
that you think that everything that they're saying is gonna actualize,
Yeah.
and it's gonna go further.
I gave it back in 3 weeks.
Wow.
I knew
Wow.
better. No, we're not doing this. We ain't doing this. But so I did share that it was going to be some triggers, and it's funny, as soon as you said it, I was like, there go that trigger. It took me right back. All right, so let me move on to the next question. Next question is, why do we feel sorry for the narc? How do we keep moving forward when there is so much temptation to draw us back in?
I think people feel sorry for the narcissist because they believe that the love bombing stage of who they met was a real part of them. They believe that that person is a victim. They believe that that person is misfortunate, and basically they were sold a character that was a damsel in distress, or had a hard life. Everybody's against them. And when it's over, that the person feels like, oh, they're going to be back in that world, especially women. They're going to be hurt, and guys too, but more or less women from the emotional standpoint. They're going to be hurt, and they, so the person feels bad, and they feel sorry for something that they think that they had, right? I was talking on my live the other night, and I was saying, really, when you're with a narcissist, you're actually getting to know all of the X sources that they ever been with, because they take bits and pieces of whatever's favorable from all of these sources, and then they present it to you in a package as them.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's nothing about them that is really, I guess you can say, genuine to the point where it would be something beneficial for you to even have pity for, because they're empty. They have no pity for you.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So when you realize that it's a one-way type of deal and there's no reciprocation, and you're feeling sorry for someone who was only playing a game and will be just fine without you.
Yeah.
Well, they'll be just fine. They'll move on to the next source, and it's all fun and games again. You're completely forgotten about, but yet you're still moping and sad and sorrow over somebody who expects this.
Yeah.
They're not hurt. They're
Right.
just disappointed in not having things go their way. But they'll be just fine. They'll move on to the next person, and they'll do it all over again. So save yourself the headache and the hassle and the emotions of feeling sad and stuff by realizing that they'll be just fine at wherever they're going, and they already have they already know that this is a part of their life that they deal with, and they've already mentally equipped themselves and prepared themselves for it, and it doesn't bother them one bit.
Right. Usually they already anticipate being quote unquote abandoned or left anyway. And oftentimes that show up very early in the relationship. Very early, they may share that fear or share that experience or share that thought or that accusation very early, because they already know they know that their behaviors usually push people away anyway.
Yeah, they know it's coming. They know it's coming.
It's predestined. So lastly, as far as those questions, is why is no contact so important? That's a big question.
No contact establishes your power. That's what no contact is really about.
Wow.
It's establishing your power to say, you know what? You're not above me. You don't control me. You're nothing to me. It's repositioning you back into a position of power. Because when you don't contact, when you don't reach out, they understand that you get it. They understand now that you're not to be played with.
Mm-hmm.
They understand now that you're not the fool that they thought you were.
Mm-hmm.
So you're regaining your power, your respect, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
The more we entangle back with them, no pun, you know,
Yeah.
the more we entangle back with these individuals,
Yeah.
the more they look at us as being weak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is not being able to break away from them. Is not having the ability to resist them.
Oh, God.
So they feel like if I can call you, I could put you on red and not call you for 6 months, and then when I do, you're Johnny on the spot, ready to have a full conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You don't value yourself.
Wow.
Or your time.
Y'all hear that? He said you do not value yourself or your time. Not that the narc doesn't value you or your time. You do not value yourself or your time. That's big.
Absolutely.
That's big, Quinn.
Absolutely, because
That's
it's
big.
like if I could just ignore you, act like you were never nothing to me, leave you hanging, and then when I get ready to call you, you pick up missing me, and
Yeah.
it just shows like I could do whatever to you. I could walk all over you. You don't respect yourself. You're nothing. Because if you were something, you wouldn't stand for that. You wouldn't stand for being put on the back burner and ignored like you have zero value or worth as an individual or as a human being that you are. You wouldn't stand for it.
Right.
So when they do try to come back and that door is shut and it's no bueno, it's not going, you're not going, then they already know.
Yeah. Wow, that is huge. That's that is huge. Okay, I was attempting to get out of here, but of course I'm getting some hits over here.
Oh, go ahead, do your thing.
I know. I'm sorry. I was attempting to get out of here. So I guess let me just read this again. Okay. So how do you manage when you are married, right? And you have insurance together? How do you manage to break up and not feel guilty? That's basically what she's asking.
If you're married with insurance together, breaking up
and you're trying to divorce, how do you manage to leave them knowing that you have the insurance? You know, I can go first on that. I just say it's over. Once I've decided it's over, I mean, that just goes, that's part of the, it's over. That's just part of the package. I'm sorry, but that's me. I'll let you give more.
I mean, it's a transaction.
Yeah, it's a transaction.
And transactions is just a business, It ain't nothing personal.
Wow.
It's just when you realize that a person was just treating you as a transaction, then we just got to take this as business from this point. It ain't nothing personal. You go your way, I go mine. I got the insurance, and that's it. It's different when you know somebody really was caring for you and was really in there with you. Then you could probably say, like, you know what? I feel bad about that because this person don't deserve this.
Right.
But when you're dealing with somebody who treated you just like, you know, a business transaction, it was for them and playing all these games and all of this, you can't have, at that point, it's just business as usual.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
You
So
know?
that's yes, it's business as usual. So that goes with the divorce.
Go ahead, hand them a receipt, tell them have a good day. Thank you for shopping with me, and let them keep going on their way.
You so cold-blooded.
I mean, if somebody trying to do you in at the end of the day, you got to stand up for yourself. Yeah. You got to show that you got a backbone. Because you don't want them in their memory of thinking, oh, you just kept laying down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you know, when you do that, when you just keep laying down, they are convinced that you're never going to let them go. They're convinced that you're never going to get over them. And go ahead.
Not only that, Queenie, they're convinced that you deserve that type of treatment that they're giving.
Oh my God, yes. That's exactly what is in their head. Like, that's all you deserve. And they don't, I mean, and they will look at you with that old evil stare as if, you know, especially if you push back, it's like they have this hate towards you because that was what you deserved, and you allowed it for so long. And
Exactly.
suddenly
Exactly.
now you trying to do something different. Oh, it's never really received well.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So let me ask you well, I mean, I have a couple different little questions coming up here.
We can knock those two out. We can get those two out.
They're just chiming in. But as it relates to, like I said, the recovery aspect of it, what do you suggest for people when they have children and the person you have to be in some type of connection with them? How do you suggest that the victim themselves handle themselves, right? Because they have to deal with this parent in some capacity, right? I've never, narcissistic parents aren't always great parents. I had one. But how does the victim, how do you suggest that the victim kind of manages that relationship?
See, most people that's in those situations still go off of the, the routine of being with them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pull back and you have to set boundaries and you have to set times where, like, listen, I only answer unless it's something of an emergency to do with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I only respond back at these times. I'm not Johnny on the spot for you whenever you want to call, contact. If it's not an emergency, doesn't have anything to do with the kids, my office hours are from 9 to 5. And that's the way you have to be stern with them.
Yeah.
They don't respect weakness.
Yeah.
You have to be stern and you have to let them know, I'm going to stand on this. This is when I answer you, because now you're reestablishing the respect and the boundaries.
Yeah.
If they can hit you up and call, well, I had something I wanted to ask you, and it's like 9 at night, it's like they're still encroaching on your independence and your privacy and everything else, your life.
Mm-hmm.
You're not with them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get to just have certain privileges and advantages to being able to just talk to you and contact you. Have to show them that. Mm-hmm. That's the only way they're gonna have the relationship later become smoother. Mm-hmm. Because you create that repetition of them getting in the habit of knowing you're not budging off of that, and if they want to deal with you in that way, this is how it's gonna have to be.
Yeah.
Stand your ground.
That's some really good advice, Quinn. I love that. I really do.
I mean, set up times. If it's like, well, I only email. Yeah. I'm not gonna talk to you.
Yeah.
I only email in here. You don't need my personal number. If it's for the children, if they're old enough, have them directly contact them. Mm-hmm. But they don't need to be talking to the victim. It's still a form of trying to control and get into the minds, and they know by them still being a constant voice or presence, mm-hmm. it won't allow you to fully move on.
Yeah.
You see, so that's major.
I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that. I didn't have children with my ex. And so my no contact was no contact. It took maybe 3 or 4 no contact cycles to go through, and I finally mastered it. But you're right. As long as they have access to you, as long as there's no boundary set, like they can call you. And one of the things I didn't do was I didn't date. And so I was always just available, even though I was busy working, but I was not dating. And so when I wasn't dating, I didn't really feel like I had anything to hide. I'm like, oh yeah, I'd pick up the phone. And then probably about 3 of those pick up the phones, I realized, no, he's just trying to make sure that I'm not dating. And he doesn't want, he knows that this relationship is done, because once they realize it's done, it's done. They can no longer put on the mask because you see behind it. But it still was it was setting me back every time I get on the phone, because he would just want to see if I would still respond or react or show up for him. And I had to just cut that completely. And I just can't imagine what it would be like if I had.
It's a litmus test or a heat check to see how much control they still have over you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. When he called me the last time when Corona started going, he called me from his job and told me he thought he had Corona. I was like, oh, bad. And I got off the phone. I'm
I
going to
mean,
holler at you later, bro.
Corona started bringing them in like it was something crazy. It was some scammers that was coming in like it was a new episode of Empire about to come out. You know, they was coming in trying to see if they can get in somebody's house. I mean,
To make your life miserable? Nah,
they
bro.
was coming back with you know Aldi bags of
You so
clothes.
crazy.
You know, they got them where in Florida they be having that what's the grocery store? I know in Philly they got
They got Publix. They got Publix in Florida.
Publix, yeah. They got that little Publix bag full of clothes.
They got Aldi bags right here. Yeah, we got the Aldi bag.
Aldi out there, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
IKEA bag. That's the big blue.
Yeah, you know, trying to get back in.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Quinn, you know, you have helped me, like I said, so much. And I know that hearing you tonight has helped so many others. Do you have any other advice for those that are, you know, are still healing, are currently, you know, maybe even still living with their narc, or even those that have left, but it's just something to just encourage those that have realized what they're in, and they want to heal. They want something different out of this.
I always tell this, and I tell my clients this, like, you know, we made it here, we're living this life, and we worry about things, and it's natural, it's human, but we sometimes have to train ourselves how to be. But when we go to the grave, we can't take the dislikes that people have with us.
Mm-hmm.
We can't take the experiences that we have with us, none of that hurt, none of that pain.
Mm-hmm.
We can't bring none of that with us.
Right.
Why are we thinking about that instead of enjoying the time that we have on God's good green earth, man?
Yeah.
Why are we letting all of that bother us instead of saying, you know what, I can't bring none of this stuff with me.
Mm-hmm.
Why hold it with me? Why hold this until I go all the way to the grave, not being happy and stuff? You don't want to go out like that. You want to be able to go in peace, being happy, with nothing, no stress, no regrets.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I tell people, try to find a way to find what makes you happy in life and do what makes you happy with no regrets. We worry about what people say, what people think, but really, I mean, we hear this is our gift.
Mm-hmm.
Life is our gift. And sometimes we get disconnected from realizing that we have a gift, and instead of enjoying our gift, we're bringing in all these other things that's taking away our gifts instead of recentering ourselves back to realizing that we need to be enjoying our gift, and that gift is life. So
thank you, Quinn. That is so beautiful. Can you tell us where the listeners can find you?
I'm on AGRP Network. You can
AGRP Network.
On Instagram.
Okay.
And it's different than on YouTube. I'm ASSC Direct Channel, but my Instagram is more like grad school because we get into. I had the music on,
yeah.
You know, the slogans, you know, I had that Freddie Jackson on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And people like that. They'll be asking, Quinn, where the music? Because it's therapeutic, and they laugh.
Yeah.
So many, and I got more female women followers too, but I could see it in their face. You know, one lady came on, she's like, Quinn, I'm cooking now. I cleaned up. I got this and that going on now. And just to see the stories of people healing, it really works. You know what I'm saying? So that's you know, that's what we do there. That's more of a graduate school type of thing where we most of them have healed, and now they just trying to, you know, keep that good energy flowing and keep them good spirits going with a support group. So
y'all can check him out on YouTube. He has tons of great videos out there from understanding excuse me, learning the stages of abuse to understanding
tons of videos.
There's tons of videos out there. I mean, from the beginning to the end, any stage that you could possibly be in, there's some YouTube video out there with Quinn's face or his voice or his logo on it that can help you to to push past wherever you are, wherever you finding yourself. And you're right, on IG, of course, it's more of a graduate class. I'm over there on IG with you, but I do every now and again, you know, when I need to talk to a friend, I go and I thumb through the library on YouTube and I
Appreciate
shoot them a video. I'm like, listen, here, watch this, listen to this, you know.
it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so it's some really good information out there, listeners.
And you know, Queenie, you're doing a good job too, especially, you know, breaking this for the female perspective for a lot of women to get the female, because, you know, this is something like people they don't really go tell nobody when they're going through this. This is a different type of abuse.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
This is something like unseen, unheard of, to where people think crazy. People think, you know, you got issues. You know what I'm saying? You have to be in a specific community, especially amongst those who are likewise. And you're doing a good job too, and especially from being a sister, being you know, giving that to the you know, from that perspective.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I really appreciate
work.
you saying that, Quinn. My intent with this group and with those that I talked to that's gone through this is to just be support, because like you said, you didn't have anybody, and my immediate friends didn't understand it. So I felt like I didn't have anybody either, and only because I was able to reach. My girlfriend was like in Japan, and then there were you way out there in the Midwest. I had to reach out to people that were outside of my network, like my immediate network, and that had the compassionate heart to understand that I'm not the person I'm not crazy. I'm actually experiencing something that's not right, and I need someone to help me to understand it. And that's what this group is about. And so I appreciate the fact that you're funny, you're very direct, but you're gentle as well. And I think it draws people like myself, and it doesn't make us afraid, and it doesn't make me leave being angry. Like I've never left one of your videos, or even, you know, whenever you come out here, I never left feeling condescending, like I wanted to just be a total asshole to someone. And I've never left feeling like super angry where I want to go hurt somebody. I've always left feeling like I want to do better and be better. And so I appreciate you giving that energy to
it's an honor. I mean, I'm honored to be a part of, you know, your health and recovery and many others. So anytime, thanks. It's been a while. I know you've been trying to get me on. I've been busy, but I thoroughly enjoyed. I mean, thank you for having me on, and thank the people for listening to me, your audience. I appreciate y'all taking the time to listen to me too. So
yeah. So Quinn, don't go anywhere. You've already shared how we're gonna find you. I just want to say thank you and give you a round of applause, because I think
I appreciate it.
Rock. There you go.
Hey, I appreciate it.
And just hang on. I'm going to stop our recording. I want to say goodbye to the Bar Talks family. Thank you guys for listening. And Quinn and I are going to sign off. Quinn, you want to say goodbye to them?
Good night, everybody. Stay safe out there. Protect yourselves. Love yourselves always.
All right, guys. You know, it's your girl, Queenie. I'll see you guys next time. One love.